So this week I am participating in Polarthon, so this will be my Polarthon vlog. Polarthon is a week-long readathon that is hosted by my good friend Jade from Jade Reads. I'll link the announcement and anything like that in the description box if you want to check it out. She does it every year, but it is a readathon that is based on polar fantasy, or fantasy that takes place in a wintry setting. So I'm going to be going through my TBR for Polarthon, but first I have to continue wrapping up last week's vlog because at around 2:30 AM I did manage to finish Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins, which is not on my Polarthon TBR. This was the book that I was reading at the end of last week. I think I wrapped up the vlog at like 1 AM and I had 90 pages left. I did finish this. I gave it 3 stars. This is my first February Bookopoly book as well. This was to read a dystopian. So as we all know, this is the second book in the Hunger Games series, which is a dystopian series that follows Katniss Everdeen, who lives in a world that is split into areas. Once a year, every child's name across the world, apart from in the ruling place, is put into a bowl, and in each area, one boy's name and one girl's name is picked out, and then those kids all go to an arena and fight to the death. That's the premise of the first book. Katniss kind of ruined the Capitol's evil schemes in the Hunger Games, and this is the continuation. 3 stars. At the end of last week's vlog I said I wasn't sure whether I was going to be leaving this as my original rating as an 18-year-old because this is a reread for me, or whether I was going to rate it based on how I feel. I went with rating it on how I feel, mainly because I read this when I was 18 and I didn't have Goodreads until I was 21, so I don't actually have a rating saved in Goodreads for this to start off with. I'm not sure if I have an unpopular opinion about this series because I don't think I know that many people who haven't read it, so anybody I see reading it now, it tends to be a reread for them. But I don't think Suzanne Collins' writing is very good. I mean, the structure of this book, I'm not going to give you spoilers, but I will be talking about things that happen in this book quite vaguely so that it's not like a spoiler, but I am going under the assumption that everybody has either read these books or watched the movie. The first 200 pages of this is Katniss in a monologue, and I have never ever liked Katniss to begin with, even when I read this the first time. Katniss is my least favourite character ever. I've never ever liked Katniss, and I know that the way that she reacts and the way that she behaves is quite realistic considering what she's been through, or it would be a realistic response from some people. But like with Sansa in Game of Thrones, the way that Katniss reacts to things is so far away from the way that I would react to any of these situations that she drives me insane, and I really don't like her. So the first 200 pages of this book is pretty much Katniss's inner monologue, and just being in her head all the time is so frustrating. I'll find that something will happen, and instead of maybe reacting to what is happening, she will sit and there will just be pages and pages of her anticipating everything that's going to happen. Say the Capitol has decided that District 12 won't eat for a week. Instead of dealing with the situation and the story progressing, it will just be in Katniss's head being like, we're not going to eat for a week, this means children are going to die, and then in 7 years we won't be able to grow crops, and then everybody will die, and then the mines will close, and then there'll be no coal. And it is exhausting being in her head. This book was my favourite book in the series. It may still be my favourite book in the series, but I really like the arena stuff that happens at the end, and that is 100 pages. Only 100 pages in this book that is nearly 500 pages long is dedicated to the actual main event of this book. The first half is just Katniss's head. Things that actually matter in this book do not take up any time. The reaping is like half a page. The victory tour, there's pretty much one scene and the rest is just skipped over. The area before the arena, like the training places, all just skipped over. I wasn't going to rant about this. I wanted to wrap this up pretty quickly, but I gave it 3 stars because I do like the plot of this. I do like some of the characters. I love Finnick, I love Joanna, I love Haymitch, I love Effie. Don't like Katniss, don't like Peter all that much either, to be honest. Not because I don't like him, he's just kind of bland. Great start to this vlog. So now, moving on to my Polarthon TBR. So I am going to try and tackle the entire map chart thing with 3 books, one of which is still in here. And those 3 books are The Ice Dragon by George R.R. Martin, Wondersmith, which should technically be in the middle, by Jessica Townsend, The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. Now bear in mind it is less than 24 hours since I last did a vlog update. In that time I have finished Catching Fire, finished The Ice Dragon, and I'm like 130 pages into Wondersmith. So I've been a busy gal, and I have actually been into the office today. I was out of home at work for 7 hours, and I've also come home and edited the entirety of last week's vlog and still done all of this reading. So we'll start off with The Ice Dragon. This is the only book that isn't on my Bookopoly TBR. The prompt that this fulfilled for Polarthon was to read a 1-day read, and that is the only reason I managed to read a book that wasn't on my Bookopoly TBR. So this is a fairy tale, I want to say, that George R.R. Martin wrote. I think it was part of a larger collection in 1980, and this is a story of a young girl who was born in the dead of winter, and because of this people are a little bit wary of her because they say she's not like normal children and she has a coldness. But because of this coldness she finds companionship during the winter with the ice dragon, which is a dragon that only comes in winter. So it's just a little fairy tale. I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It made me sad. Did not expect this to have a sad ending, but with it being kind of like a fairy tale, I should have expected it. This has some absolutely beautiful illustrations in it as well. You can see why I read it so quickly because some pages only have like this amount of text on them. But if you like things that are reminiscent of fairy tales or modern fairy tales, then I would recommend this because it was a nice little read, but it may make you sad. So that one's already down. My next book, which I have already started, is Wondersmith, The Calling of Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend. I'm on page 118 of this. This one is on my Bookopoly TBR to read a middle grade, and for Polarthon I'm definitely using this for the fairy friend prompt, but I do want to double up with the next 2 books that I'm reading, and the one above fairy friend is Journey. I'm not sure if Morrigan takes a journey in here, but if she doesn't, I'm pretty sure there's a journey in this one that will cover it. But I am trying to hit 2 prompts with this. It's just I won't know until I've read it whether I can actually use it for that journey prompt. So if you are unfamiliar with Wondersmith, this is the 2nd book in the Morrigan Crow series. I thought this was a trilogy, but you guys let me know that there are actually going to be at least 6 books in this series, which I'm really excited about. This series is a story of Morrigan Crow, who believes she is a cursed child and she is treated terribly during her childhood, and she believes that because she is a cursed child she will die on the eve of her 11th birthday. Now in this world they have something called a bid day, where professionals and influential people come to bid on children to take as their apprentices. Morrigan doesn't think that she will get a bid because she's a cursed child and she's going to die soon. However, Jupiter North bids on her, sweeps her away to this magical city that nobody knows about called Nevermore, and enters her into a series of trials to gain entrance to the Wondrous Society. I loved the first book in this series. I only read it a few weeks ago. This book was also gifted to me by Amanda, so thank you so much Amanda for this. I'm loving it so far. And also, before I forget, this one was also gifted to me by Mariam, so thank you Mariam for that. But the thing that I loved most about Nevermore that I'm also loving about Wondersmith is the sense of whimsy in here, just how magical it is. The 2nd book has kind of a magic school setting, which I'm really loving. I think that the atmosphere is great. I love the setting. I love how Nevermore feels tangible in a similar way to how Hogwarts feels tangible, like it's a place that you could actually visit if you could find out where it was. And I love how Jessica Townsend has the ability to make all of these fantastical things that are kind of crazy just work and just be so believable, so much so that I just don't question them at all. I also love the characters in here. As I said, I am using this for the fairy friend prompt, and that is because of predominantly Fenestra, but there are other animals or wonimals in here as well. I also love how this makes me feel. In the first book, Morrigan goes through quite a tough time for a lot of the first book, and where I'm up to in the 2nd book, she's also having a rough time, and I feel so bad for her. I feel angry on her behalf, and I really like that Jessica Townsend can elicit these emotions from me because I'm quite a passive person in general. I only react to things I feel really passionately about, which means that a lot of books don't really get me feeling anything, but this one is, so I really love it for that as well. I'm about a quarter of the way through. I can't say whether I enjoy it more than Nevermore at the moment. Probably not right now, but like I said, Morrigan's having a tough time, so I'm just pissed off the entire time I'm reading this. But when I finish with this update, I am probably going to go and get in bed, and I want to get to page 150 at least tonight, which, considering I'm currently on page 118, shouldn't be a problem. So the final book that I want to read for Polarthon, hopefully have done this week, is The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. I'm not going to tell you too much about this right now because I'll tell you more about it when I actually get around to starting it, but this is a story that is heavily inspired by Russian folklore. It takes place in a snowy setting. It has magical elements in the form of fairy tale-esque creatures, I believe. And for Polarthon, I think that this will cover the journey prompt if Wondersmith doesn't, but I specifically have it down for a book featuring northern folklore, and also right at the top of the map we have the Big Daddy, which is polar fantasy, which this one does cover. It is the only one technically on here that I would consider a polar fantasy. Wondersmith, there's a little bit of snow in it and a little bit of frost, but Jay said that you don't have to use polar fantasies for all of the prompts. It's just the further you get up the path, the more specific the prompts are to polar fantasies. And this one was a nice little addition that I only grabbed this morning. Actually, I was going to read a manga, but I thought this one would be perfect with it being called The Ice Dragon. So that will be my final Polarthon read. My plans for the week: I'm not in the office for a couple of days now, but I do believe I'm getting a large delivery of wax tomorrow, so I will be busy making candles. My best friend Ryan will also be visiting tomorrow, tomorrow. He'll arrive early afternoon, I think, and he'll be leaving Wednesday evening. So I'm not sure how much reading I'm going to get done over the next couple of days. However, at the time of filming, this is the 3rd day of the month and I have already read 700 pages, completed 2 books, and I'm 25% of the way through a 3rd. So everything is going well, but I've pretty much dedicated the last few days to reading as much as possible because my Bookopoly TBR is pretty big and I knew that I would be busy a couple of days this week and not be able to read so much. So after that long ass update, I'm going to go see if my vlog has finished exporting. Then I'm going to go and get in bed and read some more of this, and I'll check in with you guys the next time anything entertaining happens or I finish a book. Hey guys, I'm just popping in really quick to say that my dad texted me at 11 a.m. this morning and let me know that he would be taking Rosie to the vets at midday. So I've just got back, but I know how much you guys all loved Rosie, and I did say a couple of weeks ago when she was in my vlog briefly that I didn't think that she had much time left. My dad said that she pretty much just lost all control of her back legs and he was having to hold her up to eat and stuff. So we took her to the vet and she has been put to sleep. She would have been 13 in a few weeks. So we've had her half of my life. She did have a sister. Her sister died 3 years ago. I'm obviously quite upset right now. But I thought that you guys should know, and I thought I would come and let you know now so it's not really weird if I come and update later on. It's like, oh, by the way, this thing happened. I went to the vets and I was there with her when it happened and I was okay until I just made my lunch and I was just writing a post on Twitter and then I just completely lost my shit. I don't know if I'll be making a video because I have quite a bit of footage of Rosie, but I can't access that footage right now because my internet's really bad and we have a hard drive that's connected to the internet and I don't have the cable that will connect it directly to my computer. But if I can access that footage anytime soon, then I may make a little video for Rosie because I know you guys really loved her as well. But I'll be okay. She was an old lady and we knew it was coming. My dad said that she got really bad yesterday and he was hoping that she'd just go in her sleep, but she didn't. So we took her to the vets and it was pretty. I've been before when some of our dogs have been ill or old and it was pretty peaceful. She hasn't been moving much. She was pretty sleepy and it was all over really quickly and she was surrounded by the 2 people who love her the most. So she's in a better place now. She'll be with her sister and also with my mum. It's for the best because she's not been well for a very long time and I know this, so I should be okay. It's a lot right now, but I'm gonna go and have my lunch. Ryan's gonna be here soon, but I'll talk to you guys a little bit later on when I'm not so much of a mess. Hey guys, I just wanted to come and check in with you today and let you know that I'm doing a lot better after yesterday. I did actually go see my dad again today. Ryan was here. Ryan's been my best friend for over 10 years, so he's like pretty much family anyway. And Curtis went with me and we also went and scattered my mum's ashes today. So it was good. It was also sad, but I am feeling much better after yesterday. Like I said, Rosie was old, so it wasn't a huge shock, but it's always going to be sad. But yeah, I'm doing a lot better today. Thank you guys so much for all your kind words on Twitter and all places like that. I really appreciate it. She's in a better place now. She's not in pain. As I said, she's been ill for quite some time. It's never a good thing, but considering how she's been for the last couple of months especially, it's okay. I'm okay. I want to say thank you to Rach as well from Rachael Marie's book journey for the plant. I received a parcel this morning that had a plant in it, a lily, which I didn't unbox on camera because I had a feeling it was from Rach and I had a feeling it was like a bereavement gift kind of thing, but thank you so much, Rach, for that. Like with the roses you sent me when I moved, I will try not to kill it, but I can't promise anything. I'm gonna go get a bath soon. I might put a face mask on because my skin has been absolutely trash. I need to exercise more, drink more water and eat less fatty food, let's be real. But I'm gonna put a face mask on for now now. I'm pretty hormonal today and not feeling too great. So I'm then gonna get in the bath and read some more of Wondersmith. I didn't read too much yesterday because I only read, I think, 5 pages. And then I got the message from my dad. And then I only managed to read a couple of chapters last night. Ryan left today at about 4 p.m. So I'm only on page 175 of this. Kind of want to finish this tomorrow if I can't finish it tonight, which I probably won't. But I am enjoying this very much so far. And I'm excited to continue on with it. I say that though, I'm not really in the mood for reading with not feeling too great. Obviously I'm getting in the bath, there's not much else I'm going to be doing, so I will carry on reading and hopefully I'll start to feel a little bit better because I am feeling quite anxious and stuff today, I guess you could say. I do have a couple of things to open for you guys now. I have this, which I believe is from Celie, or you'll notice her in my comments as Orange Orange. And I also have this, which was left with a neighbour yesterday and I forgot to go and collect, and Curtis has just gone and picked it up. So we'll start with this one because, like I said, I think I know what it is. Celie reached out to me on Goodreads not too long ago and said she was unhauling some books that I said I wanted to read and asked if I would like them, so she kindly sent them along to me. I don't know too much about them, but they are I think it's the Old Kingdom series by Garth Nix. I think the first book is Sabriel, and then is it Lyrael next, and Aborson. I got Angel Mage in an Illumicrate last year and I said that I would be interested in reading these. I've seen these in charity shops plenty of times, but I didn't know what they were. I thought they were children's books. But I think it is Kaz from the Little Book Owl who I saw review this and said it was really good. I think they're actually young adult and they're also a lot more fantasy-esque than I thought when I looked at the covers. I don't really like these covers because I think they look kind of bland and generic, but I've since looked into them and I'm actually quite interested in them, with obviously a little bit of help from Kaz's review. Oh, they actually follow a girl. I did not know Sabriel was a girl. Okay, so from what I can tell from the synopsis, it follows a girl called Sabriel who is the daughter of a mage, and she lives outside of the wall of the Old Kingdom, which is far away from the uncontrolled power of free magic and away from the dead who won't stay dead. So we have reanimated dead people in there. Sabriel's father goes missing, so she leaves the safety of the school she has known as home and embarks upon a quest fraught with supernatural dangers with companions she is unsure of. So it seems like a typical fantasy, but the kind of fantasy that I would be interested in. So thank you so much, Celie, for these. I will hopefully be able to get to them at some point. I'm kind of in the middle of a lot of series at the minute and I'm always drawn to new ones instead of continuing on, because I think a lot of the series that I'm currently in the middle of, while I am enjoying a lot of them, I'm not super passionate about them, especially as it has been a while since I've continued on with some of them. I've been more drawn to starting new series recently instead of continuing on with ones I've already started. So next up we have this box. I'm gonna say it's 100% not Skyward, which I know is at this point is getting to be a little bit of a running joke, but I actually managed to put in not like a complaint, but I managed to let Amazon know that it hasn't arrived and I've now had a refund for that. So sadly I will not be getting a hardcover of Skyward anytime soon because that was the only one I'd found reasonably priced and it didn't turn up. Honestly, there are a lot of things I enjoy about Amazon. The tape that they use that has the fibers in that makes it really strong tape is not one of those things. So this is a chunky box, but it's not too heavy. Okay, that's the book. I've got notes. Is there a Funko in here? There is. Okay, Funko. Oh my god, it's Schmidt. Oh my god, thank you so much. I had the Nugo Funkos on my Amazon wishlist. I actually have found some shelving that I can put my Funkos on because they're all still in a box. But when I went and got my nails done last week, my nail technician has some thin silver shelves that are kind of the perfect depth to stand Funkos on, and I asked her where she got them from and she actually got them from a shop that is like a 30-second walk away from my house, and they were pretty cheap. But I'm also pretty poor right now because I bought Sarah J Maas tickets and stuff last week. Thank you so much. So now we have the 2 books in here. No, that's the cardboard. So the book is Serpent and Dove by, is it Shelby Mehurin? Okay, so this is a fantasy romance. This follows a witch and a witch hunter, and I think it's a hate to love. This got rave reviews when it was released, and then it got lots of terrible reviews after that. There's a witch and a witch hunter, and there's a romance between them, but they are actually forced to be married or in an arranged marriage for some reason, and naturally they hate each other, but I'm guessing by the end of this they don't. So thank you so much for these. I will read the note now and find out who you are. Ashley, thank you so much, Ashley. Not Ashley from A Frolic Through Fiction, but I don't want to say your full name in case you're not comfortable with that, but I know which Ashley it is. But thank you so much, Ashley, for these. Really excited to read this because you know I love my fantasy romance, and Schmidt is one of my favorite New Girl characters, so thank you so much. Finished Wondersmith, The Calling of Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend. I haven't put this into my spreadsheet yet. I wanted to update the vlog first because I have a couple of things to show you and I want to sort out my spreadsheet all at once. But this will definitely be coming out as 5 stars. I enjoyed this one just as much as I enjoyed Nevermore. Maybe Nevermore slightly more, and I think that that is purely just because I love the setting of the Hotel Deucalion, where this one predominantly focuses and is set in Woodstock. So I just enjoyed Nevermore slightly more, but I did still really love this one. This is my second book for Polarthon. It's also on my Bookcoply TBR to read in middle grade. For Polarthon, I won't be using this for the journey prompt because Morrigan, while she takes a emotional character journey, she doesn't really take any physical journeys in here. So I'm altering my path slightly and I will be using this for Fairy Friend and also for Heartwarming, which means that I will be going for snowy setting, I think, with the Bear and the Nightingale instead of Northern Folklore. But regardless, my books don't need to change. It's just the prompts I'm using them for, pretty much. I have to say that this one did give me Harry Potter vibes slightly. Obviously, we do have a magic school setting in here, but that wasn't actually what did it. The thing that reminded me of Harry Potter in here was the themes of bullying, both from fellow students and also the adults in this book. It definitely gave me those Harry Potter vibes where everybody hates Harry because he's the chosen one, and then you've got Snape who's a dick and things like that. The character of Ezra Squall as well, kind of, he's giving me Dumbledore vibes, and some of you guys are going to think that's really weird, but there's always this discourse about whether Dumbledore is an abuser, because while he was incredibly kind to Harry, he was also training him to fulfill a purpose which was not in Harry's best interest as a person, even though it would have saved the Wizarding World. Ezra Squall is kind of like that. He is one of the main antagonists of this series, but he is also kind of fulfilling a teacher role, and it's kind of like Dumbledore but without the kindness. So this guy is not a good guy, but he is also training Morrigan for a specific reason. So it's kind of like Dumbledore but with transparency, if you get what I mean. But yeah, I love this and I cannot wait for Hollowpox to be released later this year and then for the rest of the series. Can't believe how much I love this for a children's series. So now I'm done with this, I will be moving on to my next read, which is The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. This is the first book in the Winter Night trilogy, I think it's called, but it doesn't say on the outside. So this one is on my Bookcoply TBR as an adult fantasy, and for Polarthon it will now be fulfilling the prompts to read a book in a snowy setting and also a polar fantasy. So I don't really know too much about this. I'll obviously give you some more information when I'm a little bit of the way into it, but what I do know before going into it is that this follows a young girl in a world that's heavily inspired by Russian folklore. And I believe that in this world they worship old gods. However, I think the main character's father marries a heavily religious woman, or the other way around, and new modern religion is creeping into this world, and because of this the old gods and the spirits of this world are dying, and without the main character's help they're going to die out completely. That is just my vague description of it. I know it is a little bit more complicated than that, but I don't remember the specifics. But like I said, as soon as I'm like 50, 100 pages into this, I will come back and give you a detailed synopsis. So since I got back from the office a few hours ago, I have spent my time curled up reading on the sofa with Curtis. So as soon as I've done this update, I am gonna go back there because I'm still feeling kind of deflated at the moment and not like at my best. Because of having to go to the vets on Tuesday with Rosie, I did miss my massive delivery of wax as well, so all orders have kind of been on hold, which is giving me a little bit more time to read, I guess. But that will be arriving tomorrow, so I will have a ton of candles and stuff to make. So I think I'm pretty much just going to enjoy this evening and get some reading done and be cozy, because I'm feeling having the cold a lot this week. I don't feel good. So before I go off and start the Bear and the Nightingale, I do have 2 parcels to show you guys. These are both from the lovely Claire, who is just the sweetest lady. Honestly, she's super active on all social media. I think her bookstagram is Books and Ink. She has like a different username on every platform, so I struggle to remember which one is which. But yeah, her Instagram is Books and Ink, and if you know who Claire is, you will know she's in everybody's comments all the time. She's super supportive. Claire messaged me after I filmed maybe my best books of 2019, or it could have been my anticipated releases, and said that she was unhauling a couple of books that I have read but don't own physical copies of, and asked if I wanted them. So of course I said yes, because one of these was in, it was my most surprising books, I think, not my best. So thank you so much, Claire, for sending these my way. And then Claire also sent me an extra parcel and said that she hopes I don't have this. No idea what this one is, so I will save it for last, but I have just started opening this one. So I'll show you what she sent me that she was unhauling, and that was Heartstopper Volumes 1 and 2 by Alice Oseman. If you guys watch my end of year videos and stuff, you will know this is a contemporary comic series. It is a webcomic and it's available to read for free online, but this is a super cute contemporary boy meets boy series about 2 teenage boys, Charlie and Nick. I think it's Charlie who is already out, but Nick thinks he's straight until he meets Charlie, and they quickly become friends and Nick starts to question his feelings. Contemporary is not my thing. Like standard contemporary romance stories don't do much for me, but this was just super sweet. I cried at the end of volume 2, which never happens to me again. But you guys do know I really like contemporary manga, and I think also comics. So that's really surprising for me as well, because I thought I would like fantasy ones, but I think I like a lot of depth in any fantasy story, which you don't always get in manga and graphic novels. Maybe because I don't love contemporary, I don't need all of the text. I just need something a lot more condensed and not necessarily simple, because graphic novels, etc., can be quite intricate, but you get what I mean. So maybe that is why I love these so much. So thank you so much, Claire, for these, and let's see what's in this one. Oh my god, I don't have this. This is These Broken Stars by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. I couldn't remember who Amy Kaufman wrote this with. This is the first book in the young adult sci-fi series that Amy Kaufman writes that isn't with Jay Kristoff. I don't actually know what this is about though, because I don't think they were published in the UK. This is definitely a US paperback. So I've never had the chance to pick them up secondhand, which is how I get a lot of books that I'm kind of interested in but not super interested in. So this is on my Goodreads TBR, I know that for sure, but oh my god, right. Let's see what it's about. It sounds super romantic. Okay, so the basic gist of the plot is that these 2 characters called Lilac and Tava are on a spaceship when it crashes. They're both very different people. Lilac is the daughter of the richest man in the universe. Tava comes from nothing and is a young war hero. Sounds like a sci-fi romance, which is, I don't think I've read something that is sci-fi and equal parts romance and plot. Like, I don't think Illumicrate counts, because while it is very romantic, I'd say that the main focus of that is the plot. Kind of like standard young adult novels where they do tend to be like a fantasy storyline with a romance. Like, that's Illumicrate is like a sci-fi version of that, but this sounds like super heavily romance based, which you guys know is way up my alley. So after they've crashed, it seems like they land on a planet and they start to wonder whether they would be better off staying there forever, but they start to discover some things. Super interested in this. Thank you so much, Claire. Of course, thank you for these, but also thank you for this. No, I don't own it. Yes, I do want to read it, especially now that I've read into the plot a little bit more. Okay, so I've been reading The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. I am already on page 286. I am flying through this, which is really surprising because I knew going into this that this would be quite a slow book, and it is. But it's also really compelling. It's a strange mix. It's also difficult to talk about what this book is about. There is a plot, there is definitely a plot, and I would say that this is character driven, but it also is plot driven. It's a really weird book. So the first thing I will say about this is that the writing is very fairy tale-esque, very atmospheric. It very much focuses on the setting of this place. The main character in this is a young girl called Vasilisa, and throughout the majority of this book we are following her life story. This book is set in Russia and the winters are especially hard. Vasilisa's mother conceived her during one of these really long winters, and as her mother was an older lady than is usual in this time, this is the kind of world where girls get married at around 14, but her mother conceived her, she was considered quite old, and she died during childbirth. However, she was adamant that she was having this child and that this child was special to her, and while we don't know much about Vasilisa's grandmother, Vasilisa's mother believed that this would be the daughter that had the power that her mother had. So the beginning of this book is about Vasilisa's family and the place where she lives. She's from a wealthy family. Her father is a lord of a village. Their nearest city is Moscow, but they live in the northern countryside. Her father is quite rich, but winter is cold and it is harsh, so it is always rough even for the rich among them. Now this book does follow a variety of perspectives. We have Vasilisa's perspective, we also have the perspective of her nurse, her father, her siblings. There's also her stepmother eventually, and a priest. So we follow pretty much everybody in this area, and the book mainly focuses on the turning of the seasons. It focuses on the nature aspects of this book. They live near a forest, and that is why it's hard to talk about this book, because it does focus on all of these things. It's almost like a slice of life or a coming of age story of this girl, but in a fantasy setting that is rich with folklore and mythology. So as the plot is quite difficult to pull out of all of this stuff that's going on, it's hard for me to tell you what this book is actually about, but I guess I could talk about Vasilisa as a character. She is very headstrong, she's very wild. It's talked about many times how she doesn't behave like women should behave. She wants to ride horses, go on adventures, she loves climbing trees and things like that. She has no interest in needlework or cooking, and she really doesn't want to get married. However, for women in this world, if you don't get married, your only other option is to go to a convent. As I said, this world is very rich in the folklore and fairy tale aspects, and there are a lot of spirits in this setting, or old gods. They all have a different purpose. There is one that guards the lake that's near Vasilisa's home. There's one that lives in the oven in her kitchen and looks after the house, and Vasilisa has spoken to them and tried to figure out where they came from, but they say that they just are. Pretty much the crux of this story is that without anybody being aware of it, it is all of these spirits and gods that keep everything running as normal and keep everybody safe. Now this starts to be challenged when Vasilisa gets a new stepmother, and her stepmother is sighted like Vasilisa is. They are the only two people who are able to see all of these spirits, but they have very different perspectives. Vasilisa has never thought anything of it and is not scared of these spirits, where her stepmother treats them as demons. Everybody in this world is a Christian, but the people who live in the north have pretty much existed as Christians, but also worshipped the old gods and left things like tributes for them. However, when Vasilisa's stepmother arrives and she is terrified because she sees demons, she demands that a priest be instated in the village church as soon as the old one has died. And the priest is a very interesting man. He's very devout, and between them they start to turn the villagers to Christianity and tell them that to worship the old gods is to harbour evil, and this begins to disturb the balance in the world, as without the tributes that the village people have been leaving for the spirits, they are starting to die out and be forgotten, which means that they can no longer protect the house or the stables or the lake, and that is leading evil and danger to creep in and unsettle pretty much everything. It's a really hard book to describe, but the beauty of this book is definitely just in the way that it's told. It is told very beautifully. I love Catherine Arden's writing. The characters are quite distinct. There are very strong familial relationships in here. I absolutely love Vasilisa and how she is challenging things in this very sexist world, and how she's pushing the boundaries of conventions, how she does whatever the hell she wants, how she is alone striving to keep these spirits alive and keep everything operating. But I mean, this book has plot. There is a plot here, but I'm on page 286 and the plot is only just kicking in. I would say at least the first 200 pages of this book is just Vasilisa growing up and establishing this world. So I am very much enjoying this. I'm just enjoying reading it, and it's weird. It's really weird, and I know I'm not being eloquent at all, but I'm just so compelled by this story that has nothing compelling in it because the plot literally isn't moving. I suppose it's a comforting read, like how I feel about the Wayfarer series by Becky Chambers or the Wolves of Mercy Falls series by Maggie Stiefvater, how just the way that the story is told is really comforting. It's the perfect book for curling up and getting cozy and reading because it just gives off those vibes in the way that the story is told and the way that the setting is described, and I'm definitely really enjoying it for those aspects. Still, 286 pages in, while I'm starting to see what the main conflict of the plot is, I don't really know where the story is going. So sorry about that, my memory card suddenly got full, but I think I was saying I'm like 300 pages into this and the plot is only just getting going, and I still don't really know because this feels like a self-contained story at the moment. It feels like the conflict is coming into play and it's going to be resolved, but I know that this is a trilogy and I think that the entire trilogy does follow Vasilisa. I don't know whether she continues throughout the trilogy to get older and grow up, etc., and whether the trilogy ends in her 30s or whether, I think she's 16 at the moment, so I don't know whether it's going to go on for a couple of years and then that will be her done with aging. So I'm interested to see how the rest of this book plays out, and provided it's not wrapped up terribly, I would say that I'm going to rate this highly, like a 4 or 5 stars, and then be excited to continue on with the rest of the series and see where that's going. I'm not necessarily pleasantly surprised by how much I'm enjoying this because a lot of people really love this book. I don't think I've seen anybody give it a bad review, but it's not my usual kind of book that I love. It is in a way because, as I said, it's quite similar to things like Becky Chambers in tone and atmosphere. The normal stories that I really love, they're like your typical fantasy. They have a little bit of a romance plot line. I'm obviously like thinking of things like Sarah J Maas and J Kristoff to an extent, where it's kind of ride or die and anyone could die at any moment. And this definitely doesn't have those vibes, but it's more in line with books that I've loved, like Becky Chambers, where it's just a really good story and a really nice story to read. So I'm not sure if I'm going to finish this tonight. I'm definitely going to get to page 350 of this today. That's my aim for the day. There are like 430 pages in this book, but I am reading it quite quickly, which is the thing I'm most surprised at because I knew going into this that this would be slow. It's definitely not dense, which I had no idea whether it would be going into it, but the story is very slow moving. So I thought that it would take me a while to get through this book, but I'm absolutely flying through it, so there is a possibility that I could finish this tonight. However, I do have a video to edit and some planning to do for a video that will be coming out next week, so even if I do manage to finish this tonight, I think it will be quite late on, so I will probably only update you guys tomorrow. The Bear and the Nightingale. I really loved this book. You guys were holding out on me. You did not tell me about the Frost King. You didn't tell me about that. And I'm really excited for the sequels to this book now because I know that Ashley's already read the whole series, so I messaged her about it and said, if this thing doesn't happen, then I'm out. And she said, you'll be waiting a long time for it. So I think it is gonna happen and I'm very excited about that. So this book, as I mentioned yesterday, is very slow going in terms of plot. The plot does resolve in this one book and it could have been a standalone. The resolution of the plot was kind of, it was good. The plot made sense. It brought the whole fairy tale aspect of this first storyline to a close, but it is still very much the atmosphere, the characters and the writing that sell this book for me. You can tell the areas where Catherine Arden thrives when reading this book. She very much thrives in her description and weaving all of these fairy tale elements into this. Her characters are very strong. There were characters in this that I did not like, but there wasn't a single character that I think was done badly in here, and I'm really intrigued to see how the series is going to continue, especially with the Frost King. Guys, I need help. But yeah, I can't believe how much of a page turner this turned out to be, considering I was dreading reading this book the most off my Bookopoly TBR because I thought it would take me forever to get through this, and I just flew through it. I did give it 4 stars in the end because, as I said, you can tell where Catherine Arden's writing really thrives, but you can also tell where it doesn't. There were elements of action scenes that I felt were a little bit clunky, kind of that case, you know, when you're reading an action scene and then you have to go back because you realize that either your mind has drifted or you're not sure how the characters have gotten from A to B. It was that kind of vibe, but in every other area, this story was absolutely brilliant. I know a few people have mentioned in the comments of my Bookopoly video that they DNF this book. I can understand why if this isn't your thing, but I really like lyrical prosaical writing. I really love purple prose. I really like atmospheric stories. I like stories that are romantic, not with a romance element, but romantic in their telling. Like, this feels like a romantic story, even though there's not really any romance in here. I will give content warnings in this. Personally, I didn't find these aspects to be too bad, but there are animal deaths in here, and there is also a little bit of sexual harassment in here. Nothing too extreme in any of those cases. If you are especially sensitive to either of those things, then go in forewarned. But I loved it. There was a point in this, it is quite near the end, so I won't really say anything about it, but there is a point where Vasilisa goes somewhere else, and I loved that entire section. It was very dreamlike, which I guess it's supposed to be, but the way that Catherine Arden can just convey that with writing, I found was especially effective, and I really loved that about it. It's really hard for me to articulate my feelings on this book, just like it was difficult for me to articulate the plot in this, but if you like atmospheric reads with well-developed characters, something a little bit fairy tale-esque and very romantic in the telling, and with just a little hint of romance in there somewhere, then I would definitely recommend picking this one up. Do not be put off by the fact that it is a slow book plot-wise. I read this pretty much in 2 days. I finished it last night just before I went to sleep, but I did start this on Thursday evening, but I only read 11 pages on Thursday, and I read the other 400 pages of this in 2 days. If you're not somebody who gets on well with slow stories, then I understand why you wouldn't like this. I did see quite a few 3-star reviews on Goodreads for this. This was right up my alley, and I'm very pleased about that, because while I did expect to enjoy this, I did not expect to enjoy the reading process of this so much. I thought it would be much slower and much harder to get through than it was, but reading this was a delight. I loved the experience of reading this more than anything, probably. So this book wraps up my Polarthon TBR. I have completed Polarthon. This one fulfilled the snowy setting prompt and also the polar fantasy prompt, so that is all done. And this is also the 3rd book of my Bookopoly TBR. We are only 9 days into February, and I'm 3 out of 7 down. I did have 3 extra books added onto my TBR that are all buddy reads, but I have finished 4 books so far this month, so I don't really want to jinx myself, but if February continues like it has been, then this will be my best reading month ever, literally ever. And I will also finish my entire TBR, probably with a couple of days to spare, which will also be a first with such a big TBR. This TBR has over 4,000 pages on it, but I'm smashing through these books and I'm actually loving a lot of what I'm reading right now. So that pretty much wraps up this week's vlog. I have started something today. I'm not too far into it, so I'm just going to mention it at the beginning of next week, because next week I am going to try to do a themed reading vlog, which I mentioned in my 2020 goals was something that I wanted to try out doing, but I have to work around Bookopoly and also keep it in the parameter of a weekly vlog. So I'll let you know a little bit about what I've started today at the beginning of next week. I hope this themed vlog works out at least sort of okay. It's my first time trying it, but we'll see how it goes. It'll probably be a whole process like the entirety of everything on my channel. But that is about it for this week. I hope you have enjoyed this vlog if you have made it this far. If you have, then please don't forget to like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to, and I will see you guys next week. Bye!
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you'll go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.